Are you looking at online college options and you're wondering, how do I know if this school is even legit? Today, I want to tell you about my disastrous online law school experience and some of the red flags that, if I'd noticed them earlier on, I might have saved myself a ton of wasted time. Let's get started. In the years before I got my degree through UMPI's Your Pace program, I tried several online schools and none of them really stuck. They all had different formats, different programs, and this is going back to the early 2000s. So things have evolved definitely from the tech side and from the standpoint of teaching online. People know how to do it better now. But more recently, I attended an online law school, and frankly, it was a pretty bad experience. I'm not going to name them here, but I was at the school for 3 years and struggled for a large portion of that time. The school was great at getting students in for that first year of the program, and they really provide a lot of support and resources for people at the beginning of the program. But for the later classes, for 2L, 3L, and beyond, there's just not the same level of support. And so, although I found tutors and outside resources and really worked my butt off, I couldn't make it work, and I ended up leaving the school. So today I want to give you some of these red flags that maybe I should have noticed sooner, and hopefully they'll help you in your school decision. The first one is accreditation. Now, the school I attended is accredited, but if you are looking for a program that might lead to some sort of licensure or some certification that's required, you want to make sure that the school has the accreditation you need. Also, just in general, it's good to go with schools that are accredited because it's at least some level of effort that they have to put in, and they have to have proven that they create some results. So accreditation is the first thing I would look at. This isn't to say that all unaccredited schools are bad, it's just another thing to consider. Second, you want to look at enrollment and attrition rates. And this is something that I probably should have noticed. The school that I went to had fairly small enrollment. It was a small school, but the attrition was incredible. After the first year, about half of the students were gone. And in the intervening years, it was whittled down to the point where almost no one was graduating from the program. I reasoned a lot of this away by thinking, okay, well, maybe people just decide it's not for them. Maybe their schedules get too busy. Maybe they just decide they don't want to do it. And that makes sense after the first year. Maybe some people give it a go and then they just said, okay, that was fun, but no more for me. But I think if I had really dug into the numbers about how many people actually graduate from the program, how many people actually succeed, I would have found that almost nobody gets out of that program. Almost nobody makes it. So if I was considering a school, once I made sure that it would give me the requirements that I need for whatever career goals I have in mind, I would definitely check to see how many people actually succeed in this program. Are people happy with their experience? And that leads me to the next red flag: online reviews or lack thereof. We're in the internet era. You can find reviews for toothbrushes and chip clips and whatever you want online. So if there are no reviews or only bad reviews about a school, you might want to take that as a red flag. Dig into what students are saying they like and don't like about the school. And even if you found a lot of great reviews about a school, dig a little further just to make sure. You're going to see experiences from the loudest people. So you might see people who had a terrible experience and people who had a wonderful experience, maybe nothing in between. But it's good to take it all in and see what the recurring themes are and see if you're happy with what you're hearing about the school. The next thing to consider is whether it's a small or a new school. Now, this doesn't rule anything out, but ideally, you'd find a school that has a good reputation, that's been around for a while and has a proven track record. And small schools can have that. UMPI, where I go, is a small school, but it's also connected to the University of Maine system. So, in that sense, it has the support of a larger network. What you're looking for is an environment where You have the one on one attention that you would like from your professors. You're not just treated as a number, but you want a school that's going to stick around, at least until you finish your degree and preferably much, much longer. The final thing you want to look at is not necessarily something that you'll just find on the school's website, although they do talk about these things a bit. And that's the methodology, the style of teaching. Now, some people like taking tests, some people like writing papers. I know my law school, one of the things that I sort of overlooked was the structure of classes. So at that school, you would take 4 classes per year and you would be graded on primarily an exam at the end of the year, nothing else. You had other assignments, you had midterms that accounted for a very small portion of your grade, but you were really being graded on that one exam. And all 4 classes had their exams at the same time. So every year we would sit down to a 4-hour written exam. And the only way to study for that is to prepare for all 4 all at once and keep all that in your head. And it was very memorization intensive. Now, if I had been a little bit younger, I think maybe the memorization would have gone easier, but man, midlife hits and the memory starts going. And so study preparation took months, and I spent hours and hours memorizing things. And what I realized at the end of 3 years of doing this is that that is not how my brain works. I'm great at understanding and synthesizing concepts. And so writing papers is great for me. But taking an exam where I have to memorize certain things and spit those facts out was just not the right format. So I would have benefited from a law school that was more of a semester system so that I was doing 1 or 2 classes at a time and was taking exams separately instead of all at once. So that's not something I had considered before I went to law school, but it would have made a huge difference if I had found a school that fit my learning style. If you're considering some of the competency based programs, your 2 big options right now that everybody's talking about are UMPI and WGU. Now, there are many other options, and I'm not going to dissuade you from any of those. What I will say is those 2 schools provide an excellent example of this kind of contrast. UMPI is all writing papers, there aren't exams, and WGU is primarily taking exams. So I chose UMPI because I prefer to write papers, whereas someone else might choose WGU because they prefer to study and quickly take an exam, especially if they already know the material. Consider how you like to study, how you like to learn, and how you like to be evaluated on those skills when you're picking a school. It's one of the most critical things you can do, but it's often overlooked when we hear other people say that they have found a program easy. Know yourself and know what is easier for you before you go into it. I hope these suggestions have given you something to think about. I don't intend to scare you off from going to online school. I'm very happy that I graduated from an online school, and I started this channel so that I could encourage people to consider it as an option, particularly if you're in midlife and you're changing careers and you want to be able to show what you know. I hope this just gives you some more encouragement to look into the schools that you're considering and find the right fit for you, because I know it's out there. If you've got suggestions for avoiding red flag schools, please leave them in the comments. And check out this video that YouTube thinks you might like next. I'll see you again next time, midlife learners.